Hey you guys, welcome back. So we are in my backyard garden again, and today we're going to do kind of a winter wonderland kind of garden tour. So I want to show you what my garden looks like, what this tropical, heavily layered, really mixed textured kind of big buffer garden that I have going on back here, what it looks like in mid-January. So I thought I would share with you a question I get so very often in the comments, which is, what do you do during the cold snaps? What do you do during the frost? Do you cover everything? Do you, do you lose a lot during the winter? And a lot of you have questions on what's the best way to handle that. So I thought, let me do a quick video, kind of walk through the garden and share with you the things that that I do nothing about. I let be, and they're super happy throughout the frost, throughout the season. So and then there's a few things in my garden that I do have to take a little bit of care for. I call them the divas in the garden, and I mumble and I grumble, but I do these things and I never lose anything. I've been really fortunate over all of the years that I've been gardening that with doing just a couple of these things in those cold snaps, which we have plenty of notice about, I will come out and make sure that gets done. So I thought, let me share this with you guys. That way, if you're going to plant in the winter, which is a fantastic time to plant in Florida, again, I am in Florida, Vero Beach area, zone 10A, so we do get some snaps. It's a mild winter. You guys probably from up north are like, yeah, but we do get some cold snaps, and we do have tons and tons of tropicals. So those cold snaps can wear on those plants, just varying on what kind of winter that we get. So I've had a lot of luck, and I'm hoping to pass this along. So if you guys are planting this time of the year, then I'm going to share with you the things that don't even worry about planting. They're going to be fantastic. And then the other things that I'm going to mention, you may want to wait until March to pop them into the ground. If time is of the essence and you need to plant that, then I will be sure to list that name of that plant and that tree, and then pop it in the ground, and then do a couple of these things to kind of help protect it during those cold snaps. So so I will list the plant and tree names down below for those of you guys who are looking for a bit of a shopping list. And there's definitely going to be some things that I missed, because look at this garden. We could be here all day. So I'm going to kind of just glide through and hit a few plants and trees that kind of give you a couple different options. But if there's anything that I've missed that you're like, oh, I had this particular plant, stick the timestamp in the comments down below, and I will do my best to answer that question. Like, yes, this is what I do during that time, and or no, you're a-okay. So especially for you guys new to Florida. But for those of you who need some inspiration to get out in the garden this winter, I hope this video does it for you. For those of you who are looking to have some landscape work done, then of course, my name is Jennifer Bevins. I am a landscape designer here in Vero Beach, Florida, and my husband and I have owned our company for over 25 years now, and we specialize in this type of work. So we create outdoor spaces for people. The name of our company is Construction Landscape, and I do all the design work, and my husband oversees the crews, and we have an in-house landscape crew that does all of our installation. These are men that have worked with us for years and years and years. This is not a subcontractor situation. These guys know exactly what we work really cohesively together. So if you're looking to have some landscape work done and you're in our area, I'll list all of the spaces down below, but it's right along the Treasure and Space Coast from Cocoa Beach, Florida, down south to Jupiter, Palm City, Stuart area. So, however, in the meantime, please follow along, and I do a video once a week and share with you guys different landscapes that we've done along the Treasure and Space Coast, pointing out certain plant and tree species that do super well in our area, things that are tried and true and tough plants. So I hope those DIYers out there, I hope it gives you some ideas of what works and what what you might want to skip in our area. So so if you do like the videos, then please like and subscribe, and that way I'll see you once a week and for an updated landscape tour. But for now, let's walk and talk plants in the cold. So see you soon. Okay, you guys, so we started at the other end of my buffer than where we were just standing. So right here, this is the rear, I guess, corner, and it's kind of an L-shaped type of spot. And this is green Kusia. This is the back side of my planting space. And just to give you guys a point of reference, this is my neighbor's yard back here. So this is like our typical backyard section. So they kind of have a pretty cleared space here. It goes kind of down into a ditch area, and then it starts to rise into this particular spot here, going over into a development that's full of houses. So we have a lot of roof lines going on there. So I created kind of more of a natural, nestled in tropical space that I really enjoy a whole lot. So this is my vibe. This is the look that I love to see coming out my back door, and my seating section, which is, you know, right here. And yeah, this is the space that I spend the most time in. So we're in Florida. I mean, that time also includes winter. So actually, it mostly includes winter. We have about 3 months during the summer that you guys all know is incredibly tough, but during the winter months we are blessed with being able to be outdoors all the time. So my Kusia, ignore it needs a haircut. I do know this, but it's getting kind of tall for me, so I have to wait for my crew to come about twice a year to help me maintain this. But I do want this guy to be 9 to 10 foot tall, and it kind of just really does a good job of giving me that break. You kind of see how things open up for the rest of my neighbors, and I tend to like a little bit more of a private space. So Kusia, when they're newly planted, they're under 3 foot tall. I would definitely cover them during that time of the year. So I would want to make sure that the night before or the day before the frost, that morning of, I would really saturate them with some extra watering. So that ground all along that base would be really wet. So I would probably put my irrigation system on for about 45 minutes and really wet this area, then let it dry out through the day. If you've got 2 days before a frost, that's even more ideal, which, you guys, if you're paying attention, in Florida, we get notice that there's going to be a frost because the whole world falls apart in Florida when we're getting a frost. It's all over the news, it's everywhere, people go crazy because we're not used to it. So when that does happen, you know, if you've got a couple days, hit your irrigation system, make sure you saturate your entire planting area, hit it with the hose, make sure it's nice and wet. If you have time, add some mulch to the bottom of those bases of those roots, or those the bases of the trunks of the plants, because that really does help insulate it. And on this hedge, I have never covered it, I've never needed to, but if it were a much smaller hedge, what I would do is I would take the plant blankets, and I'll be sure to list those on the screen, but I take the plant blankets and I completely cover the whole plant. And I do it kind of like you do a hot air balloon, because all of that moisture that you put into the ground, that's what helps hold that heat in. So during that cold snap, what happens is that heat starts to rise up underneath that plant. So often I see in Florida, because, you know, we're novices at covering, I see people where they'll just cover the tops or the first couple feet of the plant, and kind of like you're putting a blanket on it, and that's really allowing all of that heat to escape along the bottom. So you want to kind of take that and tuck that on the bottom of the plant, wrap it all the way around, and tuck it at the rear end. So kind of I use landscape stakes, like weed matting stakes, and push that into the ground so far so it's nice and tucked in. But you can use rocks, you can use pots, you can use whatever you have on hand, and just kind of tuck it as close as to the base as you can get it, because that's where it helps. And then you want to uncover that and leave that non-covered, leave that where it's not going to be covered any longer than 48 hours. So but then you're not going to have any burn, you're not going to have any issues, and it's definitely worth doing if your plant is a young Kusia. And if we're getting into the low 30s, if we're getting into the high 20s, I don't usually cover this plant. But if we get into anything colder than that, then I would go ahead and cover the plant and do the same watering cycle on it. But it can handle temperatures, I would say, all the way into the high 20s. Okay, so next we have the king sagos. So I've got some king sagos here, and I do nothing to those. I water them a little bit before the frost, and then I let them be. They can handle temps all the way into the 20s, so you can king sago it up. Now, during this time of the year, they have a tendency to get a little bit of scale. That is their only issue, and I use Dominion. It's a Dominion product. It's a drench. I use that on them during the winter months about once a month, and they do super well with that. So but that's since they offer such little care, I mean, I really have to do very little work to them, that I don't mind doing that once a month during the winter months, especially since our winter months are very short here in Florida. So the guy behind us is the traveler's palm. Unfortunately, my fronds are covering some of the most beautiful parts of it right now. It's just at that size, but look at that base, you guys. Is that just not gorgeous? Now, this guy can handle our temps, our frosts, no problem. So he can handle temps all the way into the mid-20s and does really, really, really well. So traveler's palms are a fantastic tree to use. You want to try to get them in about 15-gallon pot size or bigger if you're planting them in the winter. But other than that, they're just a tough, tough tree, and I've never covered any of mine. And then just fun fact on the traveler's palms that each one of those trunks that are here that provide these big paddle leaves hold almost a liter of water. So if I were to puncture, this with my with a knife here, water would just come gushing, pouring out, and that's where it got the nickname traveler's palm, because in Madagascar, where they're native, travelers would come through, and once they see this species, they know that they're kind of saved, because they could actually get a good deal of water from each one of these limbs here. So yay for the traveler's palms. But yes, so bonus, they hold water, and they can handle frost temps very, very well. So next I'm going to go with the Sanchesia. So Sanchesia, if you guys follow me at all, I love, 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 love Sanchesia. I think they're such a fabulous plant. This is a very dark spot in my garden, and they're just so nice and bright, and I love this leaf texture and outline. It just looks like art to me. And I just love how bright it is in a dark spot. So these guys, unfortunately, my camera's gonna go off on me. So unfortunately, they cannot handle the frost. So I do cover those guys if we're gonna get a frost longer than a couple hours. And then they will get a little bit of a leaf burn, but they rarely ever die out on me. They'll pop right back after the winter. You can cut them right back, and they'll flush right back out with beautiful, beautiful color. Queen Emma Crinum Lily. Go ahead and plant this guy. He can absolutely handle, I guess it's a girl, she's a queen. Go ahead and plant her in your garden, and she is tough enough to handle that frost. Now you'll notice that if it's a really cold night, you'll get some burn on the outside limbs. Hold off on doing any trimming on those outside limbs until winter is over. I know you might be tempted to, because it will turn brown. However, it really helps insulate the center, and the center is what you really want to protect. So just kind of leave them alone until the end of the season. So Queen Emma is a go-to plant. So right here is a Laala, and that unfortunately is a diva. She has some pest issues. She does not like the sun. She just really does not like the cold at all. Her tips will burn, she will burn back, and could die. So that is one tree that I water heavily, and then put a plant blanket all the way around her, and she does pretty well. Now you can tell on this one, she's not really loving the spot she's in. She's getting a little bit too much sun from the rear side of my buffer back there. So you can see the light coloring and tone. In a minute, I'm gonna show you one that's a little bit more protected and how much nicer it looks. But both of those I cover. I love their leaf. I love what they do in the garden, so they're definitely worth having. But, and they stay very, very small for very, very long. So, you don't get a lot of that in Florida. So they're kind of worth the extra care and a little extra effort. So this is a triple spindle palm, and they come in singles, doubles, triples. A lot of people confuse it with its neighboring bottle palm. I'm going to show you both of them since they're both right here in the garden. Sorry for the sun, you guys. I hope you can see that. I'll get around to the other side to give you a better view. But I've got two bottle palms here that are reaching for the sun, and then I've got one triple spindle palm here. Now the reason why I mentioned both of those trees, I guess you can tell the difference as they've gotten bigger, but if you notice when they're very young and you see them in the nurseries, they look very, very similar. The biggest difference is if you this is obviously covered, but if you see the bases, they have kind of the same bulbous kind of base that a bottle palm has. However, these have flat sides, so they have, each of this is a flat side for the tree, and it has a little bit more of an orange tone to the rear side of the frond. So you'll see that this trim here is nice and orange. Now, the spindle palm can handle cold temps into the high 20s. So I do nothing, even when it was young, I did not cover this tree. It did really, really well, and it's held up perfectly fine and through all of our cold snaps and all of our aggressive winds. So those of you guys who are out on the island and are looking for something that can really handle a beating, spindle palms do a fantastic job of that. The limbs aren't usually quite this long on the spindle palm, but because I'm in a shade spot right here, it's kind of underneath the canopy of this triangle fan palm that is branching out far into the garden, trying to find a little bit more sunlight. So in a shade environment, this is what they do. They branch and pull out, but in a sun environment, they're more compact, more like this curl that you see here. They kind of pop up and then they just curl, a tighter curl. So, but overall, real easy palm to work with. Spindle palm's definitely a go-to palm for me, even in the sun or the shade. And this is the bottle palm. Now the bottle palm cannot handle the frost nearly as well. So bottle palms will burn and almost die if they are in temps below 32 degrees for more than 2 hours. So they are one that you definitely want to cover. When these are so matured that I don't worry about them anymore, but when they were younger, what I would do is I would water, mulch the bottom of them and cover this base, and I would just kind of cover the base to the ground. And at the time I would go almost all the way up to where the green would be, so I would go about 2 foot up. This tree is much larger now, but the tree was perfectly fine. I did lose some outside limbs, but they popped back a couple months later, and it was definitely obviously worth saving, because I just absolutely love. I've taken many pictures, especially of the kids underneath this frond, kind of looking down this way. I just love their leaf curl. I love how tropical they look. So they're worth having in the garden. They just need a little bit extra care. So alocasias, dwarf alocasias. So these are dwarf elephant ears, and I do not cover these guys at all. You will get a little bit of burn on them. I leave them congested like this all winter long. So you'll notice the theme here is all of my plants in this grouping need a haircut pretty badly. But because I was not able to get to it just before our cold season, I went ahead and I'm leaving them through the winter, because all of this grouping here, thick, nice, tight together, creates humidity, creates a bit of insulation for each of the plants. So it's better to, not trim at all in the winter if you can. So the last time you want to really trim is early October, in our area anyway, because we're still getting 80 degree, 85, 90 degree weather during that time, believe it or not. So, don't trim, allow them to be thick and lush, and just, give them a haircut early March. So that's what we have going on here, and I'm so ashamed, you guys. I don't put up with bullying at all in a garden, but look what my dwarf elephant ear is doing to my poor Dayun palm. So this is a product of not trimming. So I've let this guy kind of come back. He has a pocket in his own space there, but he keeps pushing out into the Dayun palm. So I need to decide which one I want in this space and move the other one. But that's a product of my garden, as you notice. So I do groups of 5 and 5, and certain sections to try out new plant material and really see how I like it in the garden, and that lets me know that I can use that in someone else's garden and be worry-free. I can know the pest issues it has. I can know how it handles the cold temps. I can know, it gives me the knowledge. I think you have to live with something for a while to really be able to be professional in it and then share that with someone else. So there's a lot of new species in my garden that I am playing with. I'm just trying to make sure fit. And of course, because I don't have such a large space, it really packs in pretty heavy. But okay, so elephant ears I do not cover because they're aggressive growers, and even if I lose some outside limbs, which you will during a heavy frost, they will pop back on us. So Ceria palms, cat palms, they're in the back there. I do not cover those. Now, if they're anything below 3 gallon size, absolutely cover. But if you're at 15, 20, 25 gallon, then they handle that really, really well. What they don't handle is the wind. So if you could put something there to kind of give a little bit of a break, you'll notice I've got some Kusia back there. And I've got a hibiscus tree on the rear side there that actually we haven't actually seen on video yet, but back there, it protects it from the wind because I am backed up to an open area back there. There's a lake back there that the other community has, so I get a lot of wind from that spot. So they do need protection from that winter wind, but the winter cold they handle really, really well. So okay, so let's move right into the triangle fan palm. So this is a triangle fan palm. And this guy is about 20 years old. He is a old guy, and I've got a few of them in my garden. They're kind of the first things that I put in, so they really, really do have some nice size to them. My camera's really not picking up that beautiful silver tone to them. They are also native to Madagascar, and they have that Madagascar fur, that burgundy fur that's there. They can handle temps even at a young age into the 20s. So I do nothing to these palms, you know, other than your typical watering before frost. They are tough, tough, tough. You can put them in and feel completely confident they're going to be okay in the garden. But I love what they offer. They're my top tier, and I kind of just landscaped and layered around them. I feel like the camera is really not grabbing them. I'm so sorry, you guys. I'm down the ground so low. But yes, so those are triangle fan palms. And of course, here's another traveler's palm that is quite tall up there. This is that other Laala ruffle palm that I'd mentioned, and look how much nicer this guy is. So he's completely protected. He's under the canopy of these palm trees. So he's under the canopy of an areca palm, of a triangle fan palm, a traveler's palm, and a European fan palm. So this guy is really, really, really happy in his spot, and I am just thrilled. I can see him from our seating section over there and the hot tub area, and it's just, he really, really pops out with that dynamic frond. I'm just absolutely in love with that palm tree. So I do baby it. I do cover it during the frost, and only during the frost. You know, when you Google it, it says into the 40s, but I've let it be out here into the 30s, and it's been perfectly fine. Now I do have some extra foliage around the plants and trees, so I do know that that really does help protect it some, but it is overall, they are a fantastic tree to work with, and definitely worth putting into the garden. A lot of people keep them in pots, but in Florida you can absolutely put them into the garden. I know a lot of my clients didn't realize that, and I tell them all the time, stick that bad boy right into the garden. They'll be super happy there. They do grow very, very slow. If they are in a pot, and that goes for just about anything, if it's in a pot, you probably want to bring it in during a frost into the garage, because the pots freeze. It's just too hard on the plants. So okay, and then this is a European fan palm. This is a very old man here. Oh my gosh, he has been here since the very beginning, so about 25 years old. And he is, well, I mean, he's older than that, but in my garden, he's been here 25 years. And he is fantastic tree. I just love, 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 love the rustic charm they bring into a garden. And so look how different that leaf sprawl is. It's just kind of lacy, and it moves a lot in the wind. And then you go down to something more form, compact, like those little windmill fronds on those. I just love that mix of texture. I just think that this looks so fabulous together. Okay, I'm gonna stop patting myself on the back there. But yes, so European fan palms, cold tolerant palms, plant them all you want. They're fantastic pool palms. They're just a fantastic overall palm. They live a long, long life. So you can feel confident in keeping them in the garden. So let's go down to some of the bigger leafed tropicals. So unlike the elephant ears, these giant leopard's ear, Farfugiums, tractor seat, they're called so many different names. These guys do not love the cold. Now they will handle the frost temps, but anything into the into the low 30s, 30, 31, 32, I do cover. If we're going to just be hovering over that 32 mark, I do not cover. So fortunately in Florida, when we do get those really heavy temps, they don't stay more than a few hours. So that's really, really helpful to our tropical plants. Rojo Congos, same here. So if we're going to get below 32 for any length of time, and trust me, the news will let you know that we are going to get a cold snap. We go crazy here in Florida when we get a cold snap. Everybody knows, and the news makes sure that everybody panics. So if we're going to get it too long, I cover. If we don't, I don't bother covering. So so they're one of the ones that you can go ahead and stick in the ground and not worry about covering unless we get a long snap. So I guess since we're right here, I'll go into the gingers. So these are my cone gingers. I just love their bloom. They're still blooming a little bit even in the cold. Now they do not like the cold. So they're almost like a heliconia during the cold time of the year. You almost have to cut them all the way back, unfortunately. They just really don't like the cold weather. So I don't usually cover, I just usually cut them back. What's great about them is I let them get burnt, and then I cut them all the way back to the ground in March and April, and then during the summer months they flush back out. So to me that seems to be the best situation. I know a lot of people will just cut out the burn, but then that leaves a real stocky look to them, and they'll flush all back out nice and evenly with brand new growth if you do it that way. So you can kind of see we had some cold snaps, and you can see the burn underneath of these guys, and I am, I'm so tempted to cut them off because I hate seeing brown in the garden, but at the same time, I know that that protects it from the very next snap that we're gonna get. So I think that pretty much covers a lot of the material that I do worry about versus not worry about. The Dwarf Palm that I mentioned here that is being overcrowded is almost like the Sego there. I do not cover during the cold snaps. I let that guy go be natural. All right, you guys, so there we go. So that's just kind of a little bit of insight on some palms, plants, and trees that that do well and not so well during our cold snaps, and what it currently looks like here in my backyard in the mid-January time frame. So I hope this was helpful, and if you guys made it all the way through the video, please comment True Gardener, because you are a true gardener down below, and and I'll reply with a hi. But I appreciate you guys tuning in and watching these videos, and of course share and like and subscribe if this is something that you enjoy watching, and then I get to see you once a week. So thanks so much for letting me let me share my space with you guys. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found some inspiration by it, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.